Okay, so welcome to the Ultra Running Sam podcast, proudly presented by our long-term sponsor Ugoku Projects, who make the best trail running caps out there. We've worked with Daryl and Ugoku for many years, the long history with us on the podcast, so only fair to give them first shout outs on this little advertising intro. So while we're talking about sponsors, we've picked up a new sponsor, so Phoenix Head Torches. Now, if you have any association with any of the big long ultras that go through the night, then head torches are essential. So you know how needed these things are especially in the British wintertime. You've probably heard me bang on about these during the spine and how good they are. Now, they're a new sponsor of the podcast, but I've been using Phoenix Head Torches for a couple of years now because of how good they are and the reputation that they have for being basically indestructible, and the amazing performance that they give you. Literally, during the whole of the spine, they charge up really quickly, and I never ever felt like I didn't have enough light out there. So they're a new sponsor of the podcast going forward. They want to get involved more with they're a Chinese company. They want to get involved a bit more with the UK trail running industry. So we've teamed up to help get them out there. A lot of people know who they are already, but if you haven't heard of them, then check out my Instagram, and there'll be some discount codes coming. And as always with Ugoku, there'll always be discount codes knocking around. So I probably sent them out before, but if there isn't one showing on my Instagram page, then just send me a DM and I'll get those codes to you. Okay, so obligations are done. On with the show. Okay, so welcome to the Ultra Running Sam podcast. So another episode in the little mini series of interviewing people leading up to this year's UTMB in a few weeks. So this week we're speaking to Fiona Pascall. So she's a returning guest. So some of you may have heard our interview that we did a while back, as she sort of shot onto the scene and expressed those Pascall genes in the way that they know how best to race. And that's winning everything in sight. So returning chat with Fiona as we lead up to the race in a couple of weeks. So we'll just be catching up and finding out what she's got planned. So I will pause the recording and let her in. Okay, yes, we are recording again. So welcome to the Ultra Running Sam podcast, Fiona Pascall.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me back.
Yes, returning guest. Yeah, so I quickly pressed record again because I asked you a critical question that there's going to be lots of information on, and I didn't want to miss this gold content. So you're broadcasting for people that are watching on the video version. You are broadcasting from #VanLife.
Yeah, very much #VanLife at the moment. Yeah, I've been here for 3 weeks, I think. Yeah. Most of which has been in the van, which has been fun.
Yes. So you're in the Alps, aren't you? So you in the Italian side?
I am in Switzerland at
Switzerland.
the moment. I've been near Chamonix for the majority of my stay, and I just come out here to Switzerland to a place called Arola, which I'm probably pronouncing completely wrong. Just because it's kind of close to Champay-Lac, which is the next place that I'm heading to on the UTMB course.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah. So tell me about the van then, because I'm interested in this because I recently converted a van in a week. So I was forced, our hand was forced, our car broke down, and we got this holiday planned where we were taking the caravan away, when we normally, every summer, we'll take the caravan somewhere. Car broke down, not enough time to get it fixed, but I'd had this idea of converting my old work van into a camper. So a hand was kind of forced into doing that. So in the space of 1 week, managed to fit some seats in the back, put a floor in, put kind of a kitchen in, so like a bit of a unit with like a nice wooden top on and a fancy bowl that the wife found, and put some kind of electrics in, and then make a chipboard bed in the back, and we went.
Wow, that sounds pretty impressive to me.
Yeah, it was a long week. It was a very long week, and we're still doing. We left at like 5 o'clock on the Saturday morning, and we were still. I was still doing jobs on it. We were still doing jobs on it till about 10 or 11 o'clock on the Friday night, and then when we got back home, had to pack it. So we went to bed at about 1 in the morning, and then got up and set off for Devon at 5 in the morning. It was felt like a long day. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to start a holiday, isn't it? Off
It
of
is,
almost.
yeah. Yeah. But yeah, we adapted to van life very quickly. So what's your experience of so you've been in it for 3 weeks then? What is this something that had planned for a while? Have you had the van for a long time?
Yeah, we've had a van for on and off for quite a long time. Not this one. My husband converted this one for the second or maybe third time last summer or last spring.
Mm.
Because we keep kind of changing our mind as to how it's all going to work and how everything's going to fit. Um, so yeah, but it works pretty well. It's a small van, so it's good for me. I can just drive it around. It drives like a car. It fits under all the like barriers and things, which is quite nice. My husband and my two dogs are coming out next week, and I'm starting to realize I've brought too much stuff, and it's going to be a little bit tight, I think, when they get here. But we'll make it work.
Have you got an an awning to go with it as well?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, they're essential, aren't they? So when we were
yeah.
away, the me and the wife slept in the van, very bit cramped in the van, but the girls were quite happy in the awning because it's one of those like a Van Gogh drive away air beam one. So it was almost like having a tent anyway, sort of thing. So they were quite happy sweltering away in there. I don't know how they slept in there because they somehow it was comfortable for them, whereas we slept with because it was the warmest week that we had in England when we went away, fortunately. But we slept with the van doors, the back doors open the whole time, so like the breeze was like coming through and cooling us down, whereas the girls were like cooped up in the tent, and I felt for them, but they were more than happy. Like in the morning, they were wrapped up. One of them was using my like really expensive sleeping bag that I used for the spine. So I don't know how warm she was in that. She must have been sweltering in a zero rated sleeping bag in the middle of middle of July.
They must have been boiling. That's good going. They must be good
Yeah,
sleep.
they are good sleepers. Yeah, I think you sleep better. Do you sleep better in the van? Is that just a thing that yeah? Is it something I imagine that everybody will sleeps better when they're like camping and stuff?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I definitely sleep well in the van. I sleep better in the van than I do in like a hotel room or somewhere that's not home.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of a second home, isn't it? I think you always
Mhm.
sleep better in familiar surroundings.
Yeah.
So it kind of feels like a little second
Home from
home.
home.
Yeah,
Anyway,
exactly.
I didn't get you on the podcast to talk about van conversions.
Yeah.
As much as I could probably talk about it for a while.
I think van conversions and ultra running kind of go hand in hand, don't
Well,
they?
they do. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think it's and I've realized that our van now will be coming with me to when I go and do media duties on the spine race in January. I was like, okay, this could work. I don't know how warm we're going to be because we haven't got any heating in it, but
No
mm,
heater.
yeah,
Did you
I'm
put
sure.
one in?
It'll be fine. I don't know. Yeah, maybe put one in for that. Maybe or
Yeah. It sounds like quite a good idea for the spine to have a
yeah.
heater.
But yeah, yeah, well, I've known Adam, Wild Aperture, Adam Jacobs. I've known him sleep in his car during like Spine Week when it's been like fully minus outside and all his windows have all been frozen up on the inside. But he is,
Uh,
he is, yeah, he's one on his own with that one. But anyway.
that's
Yeah,
very good.
hashtag van life. It's yeah, everyone needs to get into it if they haven't got into it already. It works really well with ultra running. And so sort of the question that I've been asking everybody obviously was the usual question about the superhero question of what your origins are, is that doesn't apply to you because you're a returning guest. So What have you been up to? That's what I've been asking to returning guests this last week. What have you been up to since we last spoke? And I know you've had some notable great races. What have you been doing?
We last spoke quite a long time ago, didn't we?
Mm,
Um, I've been racing a little bit, not a huge amount.
mm,
Um, I've had a kind of a mixed year, I would say, so far. Um, I think so I did a 100-mile race, but since last time we spoke, my first 100-mile, which was really good. It was in Slovenia,
mm,
the Julian Alps by UTMB,
yeah. Mm,
which was a really, really fun race. I would really recommend it. I think they don't actually do the 100-mile anymore, unfortunately, but yeah, it's a really, really cool atmosphere. And for a first 100-mile for me, it was really good because it was low key. It was
mm,
kind of low pressure, not very many people,
mm. You won that.
friend. Yeah,
You won that though.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
So that was that a great success, or was it sort of were you surprised by that, or did it everything sort of go to plan? Did you kind of have an idea of how that race was going to go beforehand?
well, I wanted to come top three because I wanted to qualify for UTMB. That was the reason for doing it, really. And I thought that was possible, but I'd never done a 100-mile race before, so you never really know how it's all going to plan out. But yeah, it did go really well. It couldn't have gone much better. Obviously, with all these long things, you never have a perfect race. You always feel a bit rubbish at one point. But yeah, it all went really, really well. Um, yeah, so I was very happy with it. I wasn't expecting to win necessarily, but I was just hoping to have a good race, and
Mm.
that happened.
So that qualified you for UTMB at the end of this month then. What
Mm.
tell me about Mozart then, because that looked like that looked like more of a British race than any British race on earth.
It was, yeah, it was actually hilarious. It was so funny because it was, yeah, I mean, I've done a fair amount of fell running and running in the winter in the UK and stuff, and I've never run in conditions like that before. It was it was ridiculous. It was pouring with rain the whole time. And I was looking at the forecast beforehand, and it said it was going to be pouring with rain the whole time. And I was thinking, well, even if the forecast says that, it's never actually the case, is it? It always kind of stops every now and again. No, it was really heavy all of the time. It was so funny. And everyone was falling over. I think probably every single person fell over in that race at least once. I was purposefully bum sliding for sections of it. Yeah, it was just so wet and funny, but it was a really cool race. It was really fun.
Yeah. Well, so what sort of do you kind of anticipated? I suppose you'd be probably better prepared than most people, wouldn't you, coming into that race? 'Cause I remember hearing Dylan Bowman talk about that race and how it was one of his races coming back, like after he'd kind of had his little bit of a break for setting up free trail and having a kid and stuff, and how it was just like completely off the scale of what he expected that race to be, sort of thing. Did you feel like your British fell running career has sort of put you in a good position to win that race?
Yeah, I think, yeah, I wasn't expecting it to be that bad. Um, I was in Austria just down the road in Innsbruck about the same time last year, and it was 35 degrees. Um, but yeah, I think definitely it helps. I think it's telling that the I won that race, and the guy who won the Mozart 100 was also British. I think
Mm.
it's telling that two Brits managed to come out on top because, yeah, you don't prepare for that kind of terrain in the beautiful trails in America and California and Europe most of the time as well.
Yeah. There are some advantages to living in the UK,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we don't have altitude, we don't have many big
Yeah.
mountains, but we do have mud.
Yeah, modern. Yeah, absolutely. Amazing. So how was that sort of so that was in June, wasn't it? So that was in June, wasn't it? Yeah. So looking at that. Yeah.
Beginning of
So
June.
yeah, so is that how did that sort of play into your plan for this year then for UTMB?
What have you done sort of in between? Because that wasn't that long ago, really. In reality, what has your you had you sort of anticipated how your training would go based off that leading up until UTMB, then with what you're doing now?
Yeah, I kind of yeah, my whole plan for this year was based around UTMB, which I think perhaps with hindsight was a bit of a mistake, because I did some speed training in winter, and then I did the Eco Trail Paris race, which I DNF'd in because of sort of stomach issues, sort of random issues where I basically got quite sick and ran out of energy. And then I did Mozart, which
What
was
is that? What is that? What is that? Sorry, what is that race? The Eco Trail? I don't. Not heard of
it's
that.
it's a trail race in Paris, so it starts just outside Paris. And Eco Trail Paris is an actual kind of way, so it's a route.
Right.
An 80-kilometer race, and it's kind of undulating but not particularly hilly. It's normally quite fast, and it's really cool. It finishes up the Eiffel Tower. You
Oh,
actually
at
run
the
up the
top.
Eiffel Tower at the top. Yeah. So it's really good. It's a shame not to actually finish it.
No, that's a shame.
The idea with it was that it's fast. I could train in winter for it, do a bit of speed training, and then the idea was that it would be a kind of a celebration of all the training that I'd done over winter. And it didn't happen really. But yeah, that's life, that happens. And then after that, then I started building up for kind of UTMB type training. So yeah, starting with Mozart, which is a similar kind of profile to UTMB. Obviously it's shorter and it's not got quite so much vertical, but pretty close. And then my plan after Mozart was to do the Eiger 50K as a kind of training race. But instead I got injured a couple of weeks after Mozart, so I think it was an Achilles issue. And I think that probably all of the wet terrain in Mozart kind of messed me up a little bit from that. We drove out, and we didn't have much time, and we drove back straight after the race, after Mozart. It was like a 17-hour drive. I wasn't actually driving, but I think everything seized up, and I was really, really sore after Mozart. So I think that probably didn't help. So then, rather than the idea was to then build up after Mozart, do lots of big hills, come out for Eiger, and then stay out. And instead, I basically didn't run for 6 weeks. So it's not been the perfect summer training wise. I very almost didn't come out to the Alps, because it's quite a big commitment to come out and take the time off work and everything. So I was very close to not coming, but it kind of came right at the last minute, so I thought I'd just give it a go.
Yeah. So after Mozart, then you really should have been sat in a jacuzzi or something, shouldn't you, for a couple of days, like rather than a 17-hour drive home.
Yeah, with hindsight, I think a day of just walking around probably would have done it. I think that's something that it's a positive that I'm bringing back from Mozart, that I think I won't do that again. That I'll always give it at least one day of not sitting in a car. And we were taking breaks, and I was trying to move around as much as possible, but you know what it's like after a race, you seize up very quickly, and it takes a long time to kind of unseize. So I think from now on I'm going to take at least one day and just move as much as possible before heading home.
So how's that sort of affected your training, this like final block then leading into UTMB then? Have you sort of been able to hit some of the things that you wanted to do, or is it just sort of been a more watered down version?
So far since I've been out in the Alps, it has been okay, and I've been able to get a fair amount of volume in. And yeah, it's held up so far. I'm just going to tap on some wood. So yeah, it's not been ideal at all, and that the build back up after the injury has been far steeper than I would have liked. But it was a case of either sack off UTMB, leave it till next year, or take a bit of a gamble and build up quickly, because I didn't have time to build up slowly. I had to basically go straight back into training and just hope that it worked.
Yeah. But I suppose you've got a great, like, sort of back history now, haven't you, of years of consistent training. So being able to do that, you're in more of a position to be able to do that, aren't you, like this year, than you probably would have been in previous years?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it's safer for sure. And I was still able to do a lot of strength training while I was injured. I wasn't able to run or cycle, but I could do all of my strength training and everything, so that probably helped.
Yeah. So what are you sort of doing now then in these weeks? What so you're in Switzerland. So I don't know why I thought you were in Italy for some reason. I think I just like quickly looked at where you were and for some reason thought it was like that side of the Alps, but the Alps there's a lot there in there. What are you sort of like, say again?
I have been in Italy. I was in Italy a few days ago, so
Maybe
yeah.
that's what it was. Maybe that's what it was. Yeah. So what are you? Have you been running on the route then mainly on the UTMB course?
I've done a few recce's. So I've done almost half of it, I would say. But no, I actually, when I first went out, I went to the Vanois. Do you know it? The Valsenis. On a Salomon training camp, which was loads of fun. We went to this amazing little refuge, and it was at 2,000 meters, and we did loads of running around there, which was a completely new area. So that was really cool. And then after that, I came back to Chamonix and started doing some recce's. So I've done Chamonix to Les Contamines, Les Contamines to Courmayeur, and I've done Trient back to Chamonix. So I've just got the kind of the middle section to do.
Exciting. So you're obviously going to do that section over the next couple of weeks then? Well, yeah, it is literally
Yeah.
the next.
I'm going to do 2 more big days, I think, one tomorrow and one a few days after that, and then a couple of other little days on the course, and then start tapering.
So when your husband comes out, that's sort of, is that like the beginning of taper time, is it then?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think he's got some runs that he wants to do, so I'll go and help him out for a bit, try to return some of the favors.
Yeah, it's got to be. I suppose there's as much as fun as I'm sure it is. I suppose it's a bit stressful, isn't it, being away and being by yourself for a few weeks, sort of thing. Are you okay and comfortable with that kind of thing then? Just sort of up in sticks and just ploughing into training.
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, I'm okay with it, and I've got some friends out here, so I've been hanging out with various people, which has been really nice, and I've met a lot of the Salomon people, which has been really fun. And I'm very happy in my van life. I think there's always a certain amount of guilt around kind of, because the decision to come out and take 4 or 5 weeks off work, like I can do a little bit of work while I'm out here, but not very much. It's quite a selfish decision, you know. So I think there's always a little bit of kind of guilt and perhaps added pressure to perform.
Yeah.
Because if the race goes terribly, I know logically that none of my friends or family will kind of judge me for taking time off and then doing badly in the race, but
you will yourself.
There's always part of you that thinks that it's been a waste of kind of time or money if it goes badly.
Yeah. And I suppose, what about the dog as well? All those dog walks you've missed in the
Yeah, it's dogs now, actually.
Oh, dogs.
I know. Yeah, I think I probably miss them more than they miss me. I think they have a pretty sweet life. My husband's working at home, so they just hang out with him all day.
Oh, that's pretty good then. Yeah,
Yeah,
the ideal dog life. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
So what are your what are your sort of hopes for the race then? So have you sort of had to adjust your goals a little bit with this training, or are you still keeping the same sort of focus and going for the same sort of performance that you'd planned all along?
No, I'm trying to take the pressure off a little bit. I think that it's unrealistic to expect to perform as well as I would have if I'd had the extra 6 weeks of training. Um, which I'm kind of, part of me is seeing as a positive, because I was putting quite a lot of pressure on myself to perform this year. And it's my first UTMB. Generally, the first time it doesn't go that well. So yeah, I'm rather than kind of trying to push for a place or a time, I'm just gonna kind of see what happens and use it as an experience.
Yeah, yeah. I suppose
Mm.
that is the sensible thing to do. And then you anything else is a bonus, isn't it? You know, other than that, if things feel good during the race, and because you never know actually. Because I was interviewing Jack Scott, and we went through all the issues he had before the spine race this year, and all the 5 weeks of injuries that he had, and how he didn't think he was going to be able to race and everything, and then everything sort of turned around. And he actually now, with hindsight, believes that that's why he had that performance, because he was more rested than everybody else. He did like 300 less miles or something than he would have done in training, and he thinks that having that mindset of just going for it, he was in more of a rested state than others. So maybe you know, you might surprise yourself at how well you do.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, that's good to know. Yeah.
That's one way to look at it.
Yeah. I've been trying to sort of play that line that I'm going into this training block really well rested. Nice to know that maybe it's not just a line. Maybe, maybe that'll be the case. I guess we'll see. I've got an excuse if it goes badly, and then if it goes well, then maybe I don't know, take a bit more time off next summer too.
The Jack Scott effect. Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Have you sort of tapped up your sister for some advice on this race? Because obviously she's done it before.
Yeah, I think, yeah, we've talked about it a fair amount. I think that it's that my husband is talking to her husband about the crewing side of things more than I'm talking to her, because I think the running, you get to know the course and then you just kind of run, and it's all very individual and personal. But I think the crewing is actually the logistical
Nightmare.
difficult. Yeah, so I think that yeah, Matt and Matt are talking to each other a lot more than Beth and I are.
The two Matts are getting together.
Yeah.
That's good, yeah. Because yeah, I've heard horror stories, obviously, about like crewing and stuff for UTMB, and how it's, you know, it's the shuttles going everywhere. I know, because I'm over and I'm doing MCC, which is the race that nobody knows exists. Well, I didn't know it existed anyway until I was given a place on it. So that's obviously like the last 25 miles. So logistically, it's fine. Although I missed the window for the shuttles, so I've been looking at all the emails, because they're sending you emails all the time, aren't they? UTMB constantly, like, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. And they sent me an email saying you need to book your shuttle, and I was like, oh, it's okay. There's like loads of places left on the shuttles. And then I don't know where 100% where we're staying, because we're coming over in the van, you see. So I didn't really want to kind of pick where I was going to get picked up for the shuttle for the race like too early, until I knew where we were going to be. And because the plans are still up in the air at the minute, I still hadn't booked it. And they sent me an email today saying you've only got like 3 days left or something to book your shuttle. And I went on there, and all the ones from Chamonix are all obviously gone now. So it's all the ones from like further down the valley or further up the valley. So maybe that will sort of decide which campsite I try and get into. I don't know, because I had thought about, so I know the Chamonix Valley really well, but only from snowboarding holidays. So I've been to Chamonix loads and loads of times, but never ever been in the summer. So my view of it is kind of like very sort of granular for winter. So all these like campsites that are obviously there, I wouldn't have known are there. So I'm trying to figure out. So have you got any advice for me then on where to stay? We haven't booked it.
Um,
It's not good, but
I think my advice would be that you should have already booked your camping, to be
yeah,
honest.
that is true. That is true.
Um, I booked mine. I was really late, and I booked mine just a couple of days ago, and I know that I got the last 2 spots in the campsite that I booked.
Yeah. We're
Um,
not worried about being in Chamonix. We wanted to be out of Chamonix because I'd seen that there was if you sort of come down the valley um to is it is it to like Passy there? There's some lakes down there, and the girls, part of the deal is that the girls get to go paddleboarding a lot. So that was the idea, that we try and find a campsite near some lakes. So I'm not too worried about not being in Chamonix. So I'm hoping that that kind of opens up a few more options.
yeah, it should do. Yeah, if you're down sort of past Les Houches, then you'll probably be okay. You could
Yeah.
also go up towards Trion. Where does your race start? Is it Trion?
Martinghy, is it? Martinghy?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Martini, however however you pronounce
It
it.
sounds very French, does
Martini.
it?
Don't know.
But yeah, you could go up there, and then there's Lac d'Emerson, which is just up from there, which is a really nice place for paddleboarding.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, you'll
I'll
probably
have a
be
look.
all right.
Yeah,
But
we've kind of delayed um booking anything because my wife's revealing too much information here as usual. My wife's grandma's not very well, and we were a bit worried that she might sort of pass, and then the funeral was probably going to work out that it was going to be one of the weeks that we were away. So we were kind of left things kind of in the air. But she's still going strong at the minute, so we think that we might still be okay to go through with our plans. And now I wish that I had booked it. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what
oh,
happens.
yeah, that's tough, isn't it? Um,
It's hard to know
yeah.
what to
But
do.
I think yeah, you'll be all right. You'll find something. There
Yeah.
are also a few campsites that don't take bookings.
Yes, I'd seen that. Yeah, just turn up. Yeah.
MCC is on the like Wednesday or something, isn't it?
MCC's on the Monday.
On the Monday, yeah. Oh yeah, so you're more likely to get into one of those.
Yeah, at the weekend. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, worst case scenario, there's the ones where you can just literally just pull up in there. I've got that app. The what is it? Park for Night, is it? That app where it shows you
Yeah.
where you put in where you go in, and it shows all of the places where you can park for free or won't be hassled, like parking overnight type thing. But obviously, with two teenage daughters, that's not going to be a long-term option.
No idea. Do it for one night if you have to, right?
Yeah, I think that's the thing that yeah. Yeah, so as this week sort of gets closer towards the end of this week, yeah, I'm gonna have to book something in the next couple of days, basically. And then if we can't go, then I'll just have to take that hit. So, but there we go.
Yeah.
Anyway, enough about my camping woes. Um, what are your sort of plans for the rest of this year then? Is UTMB like like the main focus and the final focus of the year, or depending on how it goes, are you sort of pivoted to anything else?
Yeah, I'm not gonna yeah, I'm gonna see how it goes. I'm I've only done 100-mile race and one kind of similar thing, so um I don't want to expect too much from my body. I think it takes its toll, and I think it takes a few years for you to get strong enough to do lots of races. But hopefully there is a race in China that I want to do.
Mhm.
Um, and I have forgotten the name of it, which isn't very good. But it's a 100K race in China. in November, beginning of November. So that would be a really fun opportunity to kind of go out there. It's a salmon race. Yeah, so that would be really cool. And I'd like to do something else because I haven't raced as much as I would have liked to this year, but with the injury and the DNF and everything. So yeah, that would be a really good way of seeing out the year.
Are you because obviously like being with Salomon and stuff, you've had any interest in like have you done any of the Golden Trail series?
Oh no, I'm not nearly fast enough for that.
You don't fancy just like sort of pivoting to that and just doing a bit of a block of really fast short stuff?
I think if they did them in winter, I would do them as training races, and I think that'd be really good. But in summer, I want to be doing the races that I'm good at, and I really am terrible at these shorter races. My 10K pace is about the same as my 100K pace. I'm just not very fast at running.
But it works for the long stuff. Yeah.
Just I'm quite good at eating. I think that's the only thing that I'm kind of that holds me together for the longer stuff.
Yeah, that is the skill, and that's a bit of a hot topic, isn't it? Nutrition at the minute, like with all the stuff to do with everybody at Western States, where everyone was banging on about 100 plus grams of carbs per hour and stuff. What's your sort of take on that?
Yeah, I've had a bit of a kind of pivot with that recently because I've been using Spring Energy for most of my career.
So you've been fat adapted then.
I've been so proud of myself because I thought I'd been high carb fueling the whole time. So I thought I was getting 120 grams per hour. And luckily I thought I was high carb fueling rather than thinking I was getting 80. And I wasn't using exclusively Spring. I use Mountain Fuel as my drink. But yeah, so I thought I was getting 120 and actually I was getting kind of 70 or 80. But actually I've never had any massive energy lows. And it's worked for me. So now I'm basically sticking with around 80 to 90 grams an hour, which is still fairly high, but it's not the kind of the absolute top end where all these guys are doing 120.
Yeah. Do you feel pressure to sort of start doing that then now? Because that's the sort of thing that, if you're competing and everyone else is doing it, do you feel the pressure to sort of jump on board with that?
No, because I think it's mainly the guys that are doing the very high carb. Most of the top women, the kind of Katies and the Courtneys, are taking kind of 70 to 80. So I think that maybe women can't absorb that much. And also I did try a Mozart actually, because Mozart was kind of, I think it was sort of 2 days before Mozart that the big Spring Energy scandal really kind of hit. And it was all definitely lower than it said it was going to be. So I had kind of switched to not using Spring, but I was still trying to get 100 to 120. And the nutrition side didn't go very well. I got really full, and towards the end I couldn't really take anything. So yeah, so I'm not feeling that much pressure to go really high. I think in this long stuff it's difficult enough to take kind of 80, 90, and I think if you keep pushing it, then it can cause more issues.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, just because if you know yourself, don't you? I suppose that's one of the things that comes with experience, isn't it? Just knowing what works for you and sticking to that, and not sort of, because you don't really want to take any chances when you're coming up to a big race, do you? You don't want to sort of stitch yourself up in the lead up to something that you've been really sort of pinpointing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's about kind of risk management, and yeah, arguably it'd be more risky to try to up the carbs massively than just sort of sticking to what I've been doing. I probably will experiment with higher carb fueling at some point. But yeah, at the moment I'm happy with where I'm at.
Brilliant. So are there any sort of things that you're looking forward to about UTMB? Are you feeling, well, how are you feeling about it? You feeling anxious? Are you feeling pumped and ready to go? Are you looking forward to anything or dreading anything?
It's kind of a mixture of both. I'm looking forward to, UTMB, the madness, the mayhem, like all of the support and everything. But I am kind of dreading that as well. Yeah, I think it's a race that I've been targeting since I got into long distance running. So sort of 2-3 years I've been excited about doing UTMB. And I'm really excited about just setting off and running with an incredible field of athletes. That's really, really cool. It kind of feels like, yeah, I'm going to be running side to side, maybe only for the first 50 meters or so, but side to side with some of my heroes, which is really exciting. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to the course as well. I mean, it's incredible. It's amazing. It's such a cool course. I'm looking forward to everything about it, but I'm also kind of terrified of it all as well.
I suppose that's healthy, isn't it? To have a healthy respect for the race that you're doing and not sort of going there belligerent and blindly taking chances. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming on and chatting about your training and your hopes for the race and everything. And yeah, fingers crossed. I might see you there. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, wish you all the best for it, and I hope to see you have a good race. And thanks for coming on and having a quick chat.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. And yeah, I hope that you make it out here.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed for you. And yeah, if you do, then I'll see you here. See you in Sham.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. I'll buy you a beer to pay you back for all the podcasts that you've done for me.
No needs to buy me a beer.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thanks, Fiona. Appreciate you coming on. Cheers.
Thanks for having me, Sam. Cheers.
Thank you.